born in Iran, quits law school, enters the world of finance, then builds in pharma, eventually into real estate, then family, then community. The fascinating story of Arash Gohari this week on Jewish Grit. Welcome to Jewish Grit from beautiful, sunny Surfside, Florida. And to add even more light to today's day, it's a pleasure and an honor to welcome Arash Gohari to the podcast.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Arash, you are the founder, CEO of 27 Capital, a real estate company.
Yes,
Thank God, a really successful one. 27, is that like some mystical number?
27 to me has been a guiding number. I was born on the 27th. I met my wife when she was 27. My son was born on the 27th. My first apartment was on the 27th floor. And it was natural for me to name it 27 Capital. So I started thinking, as life progressed, why 27? Why 27? I looked at the gematria for 27.
The Hebrew numerical value.
The Hebrew numeric value of 27, and every letter coincides with a number, and 27 coincided with the Hebrew word zach, which is the Hebrew word for purity. And I said, okay, I'm not super connecting with it. And then I started thinking even more, and I said, oh, okay, I get it. God has been my partner in everything that I've done, and it's been pretty obvious to me. I get divine winks, which is kind of interesting. And I said, all right, so he's my partner. 26 is God's number in Judaism, the numerical value for God's name. And plus me, 1 is 27. So it's basically God and me as partners running this company.
And as long as you got the 26 before the 1, you're okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's drill down a little bit about your personal journey, because my understanding is you weren't even born in this country.
I was not. I was born in Tehran, Iran. For those of you that haven't heard about it recently, it's a place.
There's not much left of it. There's not much left of it. Formerly Tehran.
I was 5 and a half, 5 years old when the revolution started, and it was very dangerous for Jewish people to be there. They actually hung the most prolific Jewish businessman at the time. The day of the revolution, my dad was already in the United States planning a move for us to the United States, a bunch of my cousins and uncles and aunts. And while that was happening, the revolution broke out in Iran. My dad called my mom and said, get out of there, because it was dangerous. I was 5 years old. There was only one ticket on the airplane to come out of Iran because everybody wanted to get out of there. We moved here, and that was the last. She locked the door to her house, left all her belongings there, left the cars in front of the house. And that was it.
And who took it? You have no idea?
No idea.
Your parents sent you to a Jewish school?
I started out at Park East Day School in Manhattan. And then at 4th grade, I went to Ramaz and went through until end of high school.
And then you go to Penn?
I first went to NYU Stern Business School, and then went to Penn Law School. My first year of law school, I couldn't afford to take airplanes back and forth for Shabbats, so I used to take the train, and I was placed next to a lawyer every time I took the train back, so I had a few hours to talk to these lawyers, and they all told me how much they disliked what they did. So one day I called my parents, and I said, please come to Philadelphia. And so they came to Philadelphia, and my roommate in the grad towers was in Wharton, and I'd studied finance undergrad. And I found myself very interested in what he was doing. And I called my parents. I said, please come up. Now, think about this. This is my parents who, were not, they did not do amazingly financially. They did everything to put their kids in the right schools. And I'm forever grateful for that. Now imagine, they have their firstborn child in an Ivy League law school. He's set. And I told them, I want to leave law school, and I'm going to go into finance, and I'm going to get a job. My father and mother said, give us a minute. They took maybe 90 seconds. They came back into the room. They said, whatever makes you happy.
Wow, that's greatness. Did you feel a little bit like a loser? Here I worked my way all the way to law school, and now I'm just walking away from everything?
My roommate was in Wharton. I was leaving law school and figuring it out. Mm-hmm. At that point, I moved back to my parents' apartment for a little bit, and I eventually, being that age and living with your parents, that's fine. So I was 23 and a half, something like that. I then was able to get a job at a pretty, well-regarded institution, an investment bank. But yeah,
Why did they hire you? You dropped out of law school.
so I had a strategy. Everything I do, I have a dual-pronged strategy in every single thing that I do. I dropped out of law school. I was looking for a job, and at the same time, I studied extremely hard for the GMATs to go to business school if within X number of months I was not going to get a job. So I took the GMAT, and I scored, surprisingly, maybe because I had so much time to study for them, I scored a perfect on the GMAT, except I got one question wrong in verbal, which is not bad since English is my second language.
That's correct.
I think it was using the GMAT score, as well as the fact of the pedigree that I had with my university and that I had been in law school, that I got that job.
What was that job?
I was in a bar watching an Italian soccer game in the village, and my mom told me, call this guy, his name is Mike Karami, unbelievable human being, and said, he's in finance, maybe he can tell you what to do. So I got $1 worth of quarters, because I didn't have a cell phone at the time. From the payphone, I called him up and I said, hey, I gave him my situation. And he started talking to me and talking to me and talking to me on the payphone in the bar with the soccer game in the background. This man who set up the FX trading desk at JP Morgan and then was at Millennium, he met with me every week. Not just did he meet with me he met with me every week, and he walked me through everything I needed to learn to understand finance, not what they teach you in school, and to interview well. He had never met me before. He had never met my mother before. And after he did that, and he said, okay, now you're ready, then he started introducing me to different investment banks. Here's my friend at Goldman Sachs. Go sit with him. Here's my friend at JP Morgan. Here's my friend at this. Here's my friend at Lehman Brothers. I went with Lehman. I got into the STAR program at Lehman, which is a sales, trading, and research program at Lehman. I started out covering mid-sized hedge funds. He was very into something called technical analysis, which is predicting stock movements by their prior charts. And I became a certified market technician. And I eventually, after a year and a half, after Lehman saw my product that I put out, which was being used by the head technical analyst at Lehman, after he saw it, I became the associate chief investment strategist at Lehman.
I can't imagine that lasted forever because Lehman eventually went belly up.
Lehman went belly up in 2008. I actually left much earlier. In 2000, my boss was the biggest bull on Wall Street, meaning he was the most positive on the market in Wall Street. And he was getting replaced because the market tanked. And they offered me to go into a division of Lehman. They said, listen, we're bringing in a whole new team for this office or this function. And they offered me a couple of different areas in Lehman to go into, asset-backed securities, capital markets. I said, no. And I don't know why I said no. I just didn't want to do it. And I said, I'm going to do something, I'm going to get a job at a hedge fund, or I didn't know. I mean, it was truly gut, and it wasn't extremely well thought through, but it was the right thing. And so I left. But
So what do you do then? You found a job right away, or?
no, it was actually a really tough time. I was trying to find the next job, but the stock market had just crashed. And it was actually one of the, we can go into it now.
It was a Jewish grit moment.
It was a Jewish grit moment. And I've got a lot to say about Jewish grit. The apartment that I had to pay maintenance. I had to carry myself. I hadn't taken money from my parents since I was 17 years old. And I had to borrow one month $5,000 from my mother to carry me for a couple of months.
Did you feel like a loser then?
I haven't been religious my whole life. So I've studied a lot of different schools of thought. And what you hear over and over again is that the winners, the people that succeed, are the ones that get up from falling down. If you look at truly successful people, and I'm not talking about second generation successful people, because they've been given things. Most of us, 99% of us, have not been given things to succeed. Now, I'm a thinker, and I started my truly studying Judaism and the philosophy of Judaism. I love philosophy in my mid to late 30s. And here's what I learned. The formula has been given to us in Judaism. Now, if you think about what the core beliefs that we have are and how that lines up with every executive coach, every philosopher, every life coach that you can talk to, here's how it works. If you believe that God wants the best for you, then everything that happens is being done for your benefit. If on top of that you have bitachon, which is beyond faith, right? Faith is a Jewish word called emunah, is faith. Faith is I believe.
Yeah.
Bitachon is faith in action. Not only do I believe, because a lot of people talk, but I believe and I'm going to do stuff based on that belief. That's the hard part. So what does somebody end up doing if you think about it? And this is the formula for success that I've realized over and over again. If you believe that everything that's happening to you is for the good and you trust God, then what are you going to do? You're going to take risks. The only way that people make it big is by taking risks.
Sure.
So now we have been given the benefit of being programmed to take risks, if you really think about it. Now, if you take that risk, a lot of times you might fail. And here's the second part of that three-pronged part equation that gets you to where you want to be. So you take the risk. That we've established because God wants the best for you. And if you want to be a whatever it is you want to be, you'll take the risk and you'll do it. Then you fail. It's going to happen. But if you fail and you believe that that's what is best for you, that's where most people fall apart.
Right.
That's where they give up. And I've realized this fairly recently. If you fail and then you take another risk, and you fail and you take another risk, and you fail, there's a saying in Hebrew, it all comes until tafasta namer, which means until you've caught that tiger. Eventually, you're going to catch the tiger. And that's the business or the plan that's going to work for you and it's going to run. And then you're good. And then you got to be in the business of protecting, which I'm a protector.
I don't get something. So you're a finance guy, that means. And now you're a 27 real estate guy? How does that happen?
There's a few steps in between.
Okay.
So, hindsight, I got the job in finance. That dissolved. I had to borrow that money to maintain myself for a couple of months from my parents. Suddenly, I got offered to join the founding of a new company, which was a healthcare private equity fund. After that is when I entered real estate.
So in New York, you entered real estate?
One of my two wonderful brothers, we went into business together. We bought a bunch in New York, mainly.
Let's fast forward a bunch of years. You're living in Florida.
Yes, sir.
You're a guy who has finance, pharma, real estate, WeWork.
Yes,
so
sir.
where are you today?
So I started out small. I'm very conservative. I have more of an old school mentality. I started buying and flipping houses in Surfside because I wanted to get my feet wet and understand this market from the ground up. I'm the type, even no matter what level I get to, if I'm stepping into something new, I want to understand the tonnage of the air conditioning units that need to go into the different places. I need to understand who I want my lawyer to be, my GC to be, my lender to be. So I started doing small deals. Then I started doing some bigger deals with, again, amazing partners that appeared in front of me. And then, thank God, started a fund where we buy small value add multifamily properties. That means, for people that are not familiar, rental apartments that don't look great, and then we fix them up and then we sell them. I got approached by a large family through one of my lenders, and they said, he said, "What's making you nervous?" And I said, "Well, I have no real sustainable cash flow." And he came to me, amazing human, and said, "Well, I'm going to start a fund for you." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to put my name." The guy's done $20 billion in deals. I'm going to put my name behind this fund. I'm going to raise a fund for you. I said, okay. So
I'll take that.
So we started that, and then I met that's the Garchik family, and then I met a good friend of mine, Adam Sasunis, who owns a huge, unbelievable company called Dwight Capital, and he said, I want to be part of the fund too, and just from God, people just show up.
Baruch Hashem, thank God, you're in a good spot now. You've been through a little bit of a professional journey, or a large one, and this is where you are today. Most of the people that watch this or listen to this are having to borrow that $5,000 from their parents, or literally just starting their career. They're nervous, they're hopeful. Looking back on the last 30 years of your career, or even before that, because you were always hustling, what could you tell them that could give them perspective or direction?
What I would say to those people that are watching, it's not a difficult path, especially if you're young. The goal should be to make that amount of money that you need to start your own thing. Take the job and lower your expenses and create the plan to get to that point where you have enough money to take the risk. If your job only covers your expenses, live with your parents. If your job gives you $300,000 a year, still not enough to save money depending on what your expenses are, lower your expenses. It is until you have, and I have certain things that are non-negotiables, right? Obviously, your house is a non-negotiable, and the education of your kids is a non-negotiable. Everything else should be negotiable. The class of restaurant you eat at doesn't matter. The clothes that you wear don't matter. The amount of vacations you take a year, you should take a vacation. Don't need to be fancy until you get to that point. So you can lower your expense until you build that, and then go ahead and start your business, and then get on that program. Take a risk. Succeed, wonderful, protect it. Take a risk. Fail, that's okay. God wanted it. Take a risk. Fail, God wanted it. Take a risk. Finally, you'll get there, and then protect.
Amazing. What brings you happiness?
I'm not going to give the canned responses. To me, happiness is being able to take care of my wife and my children now, and take care of my parents now. The most important things to me, by far.
Thank you so much for giving us your time. This was enlightening,
Thank you.
enjoyable.
Thank you.
I feel like I just want to keep talking.
Thank you.
But I don't think everyone has the same attention span like we do at the age of whatever.
Thank you.
By the way, fun fact, we're 2 days apart. And I wish you loads of success in constantly
Amen.
attaining the happiness that you're involved with.
Amen. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Jewish Grit, an Olami Mentorship podcast. At Olami Mentorship, we believe that everyone needs a mentor. What better way is there to tap into your personal and professional potential than with a Jewish mentor at your side? Learn more at olami.org/mentorship. Don't forget to keep listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.